After witnessing the miracle shown by Principal, everyone returns to the village with a sense of security. Everyone except Gomdal. He still hasn't realized that the monsters that attacked them were in fact the cannibal tribe members. So it is confusing for him that those monsters had the ability to talk. He tries to think about other options of treating Chukbuk if they decide to leave the village, but there are none. At that moment, Young-hee's mom comes close to him and asks him to meet at the hospital. After Gomdal is done telling everything to Hee-ra, Young-hee's mom finally enters the hospital. Hee-ra tells her to sit. She does as Hee-ra asks and introduces herself as Young-ju Lee, the mother of Young-hee. She shakes his hand and Gomdal notices that she doesn't have a right arm. She stretches her hand towards Hee-ra to shake her hand as well. But Hee-ra openly shows her dislike towards her. Without wasting any further time, she asks Gomdal about his opinion on the miracle he witnessed today, and if he believes in the miracle or not. Although Gomdal doesn't understand why she is asking him this question, he still answers her. He tells her that he can't believe or trust a miracle that can one day possibly put his life in danger. Although he knew he will be in trouble if he told this to her, he still said it. But contrary to his expectation, she says she is glad that he didn't believe in that crappy miracle, as she was worried that he would have fallen for the principal's words, but she is glad that she found someone who understands her. Hee-ra tells her to quiet down as she might wake up Chukbuk. And finally, Gomdal asks her to tell them everything she knows, about his place and about Principal. She says, the Principal gathers people with his smile and words to either feed them to monsters, or to turn them into monsters. He is the man who created the cannibal tribe. This shocks Hee-ra and Gomdal. Never in their wildest dreams they could have imagined that humans created the cannibal tribe. Although this place looks like an ordinary village, it is actually a monster factory. For Hee-ra, this situation is very fishy. This woman is telling all these secrets to the people whom she just met. This makes her question the authenticity of the information she provided. The woman says she can tell them everything she knows. Then they can decide for themselves if she is telling the truth or not. But Hee-ra says there is no need, as they will be leaving the village tomorrow. Gomdal says they haven't been able to treat Chukbuk, and if they leave now, they won't be able to. But Hee-ra points out how they are so deep in the water even before the treatment began. As for her treatment, they can simply take the doctor and some supplies for the treatment with them while leaving. And the doctor will make a good hostage as well. And as there is a possibility that Young-ju might be dangerous, they should kill her now. From under the bed, the doctor tells her to mind her words. Even if she is asleep now, she will definitely not like for her mother to kill someone. And he also points out that it is not possible to treat her outside, as there will be no electricity and proper equipment. And without proper tools, even a doctor can't do anything. After hearing this, Young-ju tells her not to take any drastic actions, as it will put her daughter's life in danger. And at this rate, she will not be able to receive proper treatment on time and her condition will worsen. And in the end, she will turn into a monster. Hearing a secret that she shouldn't know, Hee-ra decides that she is dangerous. She grabs her throat and starts choking her. The doctor tells her to get her hands off of Young-ju. Even Gomdal tells her to stop. Hee-ra asks Doctor if he was the one who told her about Chukbuk. He says it's all right as they can trust Young-ju. But Hee-ra is convinced that this woman will create trouble for them in the future, so they'll have to kill her now. But Young-ju tells her that Principal already knows about Chukbuk's finger. He is a dangerous man who is after Chukbuk. Even if they leave from here, the monsters will never leave them alone. She promises to give them food and all the equipment and treatment they need, if they help her in killing the Principal. She begs them to help her save her daughter, as she wants her to be from the Principal's control. Looking in her eyes, Hee-ra can feel her desire to protect her daughter at all cost. She finally calms down and lets her go. Hee-ra tells her that the negotiations are done, but she have to keep her word. And Young-ju tells her she will. Hee-ra extended her hand towards her as a sign of their alliance. While all this talk, no one noticed that Chukbuk was awake, and it seems she heard quite a bit of their conversation. With their talk over, Young-ju and Doctor go outside to have a little chat. Young-ju's neck still hurts from when Hee-ra grabbed it, although she is happy to make a deal with them. If things went wrong, she would have been in big trouble. Doctor tells her to make the deal the right way if she wants to keep the one arm she has left. Although his words are harsh, he is saying this because he is worried about her. Doctor asks her if she would regret doing this if their plan failed. As they are up against the cannibal tribe, the risks are huge. He also mentions how she is expecting him to cure Chukbuk, even though he doesn't even know what caused her current condition. Youngju playfully slaps his stomach and says she knows all his secrets. That's why she also knows that this is his speciality and he can do it. And there is no room for regret, as she must do this for her daughter. If her husband were alive today, he would do the same. And this is the only way she can be forgiven for her sins. 3 years ago, they risked their lives to collect food and avoid monsters on their way to the Hope Village her husband mentioned. Young-hee's father is carrying her as she is sick. Moreover, it has been hours since the last time she drank water, so she is extremely thirsty. As the monsters come out at night, they must reach their destination before the sun sets, so they can't stop. Her father encourages her and tells her to stay strong like her mother just for a bit more. Youngju is too tired to even speak. The words come out as mumbles from her mouth. She tells her husband that she can't go any further. She wanted to give up and even end her miserable life, while her daughter is doing her best. But even in that situation, she was able to keep going because of her optimistic husband. After some time, they finally reached the Hope Village. Although she followed her husband here, she still doesn't know if this place is safe or not. But right now, she is too tired to think about it. The gate opens and Principal praises them for their bravery to come here in the search of a safe life, and welcomes them with open arms. Unlike the living hell outside, the village was full of warmth and happiness, just like before the apocalypse. She brushed aside her concern and felt relieved at the same time. His husband tells her that now it's time for them to live a happy life again. She felt relieved, and her tears couldn't stop flowing. Their family returned to a happy, everyday life after settling in the Hope Village. Young-hee, who was weak and sick, grew up healthy and strong enough to play with her friends, and her husband became the vice principal as he helped the village thrive. Thanks to her family and the villagers, she was able to heal herself, and eventually took the duty of looking after the newcomers. One day, when she was guiding a newcomer, her husband hugs her from behind, looking at this couple flirting openly. The newcomer doctor, who is single, gets jealous. However, the factor that changed her mind was the event of the Foods Day. Every time she witnesses the principal perform the miracle and control the monsters, she felt like this is the only home that could keep her and her family safe. That's what she thought at that time. One day, Young-hee asks her mother if she has seen one of her friends named Jung-jian. Her mother tells her that Jae left the village last night. When she asks her who told her this, she says it was the principal. Young-hee is sad and mad that her friend didn't even say goodbye to her before leaving. It has been 8 months since they arrived in this village, but there are a lot more people leaving the village than she expected. But why are they leaving this perfectly peaceful village? Her husband comes to the door running. He takes her to a quiet place to talk about something. He tells her that they have to leave this place as it is dangerous. When she asks him why, he tells her that he saw monsters and the dead bodies of the people who were supposed to be gone from the village in the basement. They need to pack their stuff and leave now, or they could be next. But she refuses to leave the village. Even if they leave the village right now, then what? They do not have a plan to survive outside. And she does not want to put herself and her daughter in that hell again. If she has to face hell no matter where she goes, she will rather stay here. She tells him to stay put and says she will take care of everything. As she doesn't want to leave the village, she runs straight to the principal and tells him everything, hoping he can solve this somehow. He appreciates her for telling him the truth and asks her to wait until he comes to see her and her husband. She expresses her gratitude for the mercy he has shown her and leaves. After some time, the principal calls them to the basement to talk. But there waiting for them were a bunch of monsters. Although her husband was scared, she had faith in Principal and his miracle. But with one snap of Principal's finger, the monsters attack them. In a blink of an eye, she lost her right arm, and her husband was stabbed in the stomach. even though her hand is no longer a part of her body and she is continuously losing blood. She can't feel the pain because of the shock. In front of her, lying on the ground, her husband is on death's door. How did things ended up like this? All she wanted was for them to be happy. Principal asks her if she knows the nature of cuckoo birds. Cuckoos lay their eggs in the nests of other birds, and after the mother lays the egg and leaves, the owner of the nest raises the egg. And when the chick hatches, it pushes out all the other eggs to take over the entire nest. The adoptive mother bird, who doesn't have a clue, raises the chick with love and care. Even when it reaches maturity, it has no problem getting food because it's adoptive. Mother continues to provide food until they leave the nest. That's one of the reasons he doesn't like cuckoo birds. He compares her and her husband to the cuckoo chick, even though he took them in and raised them with love and care, and provided them with a happy life and treated them as family. They dared to betray him and his trust. So from now on, they do not belong in this village. Youngju apologizes for her incompetence in convincing her husband and says she will do anything, even become his slave, if only he can save her husband. But the instructor kicks her face and says, how can they ask for their trust again after betraying them once, and then hits her more? But principal stops him and says that's enough. Instructor stops, but he has a menacing smile on his face. Principal comes close to her and says, since her confession helped them with dealing this problem, he will give her a chance. He throws a knife next to her and tells her to kill her own husband. Then he will believe her to be a member of his family again. When she hesitates, he says he will take good care of Young-hee after she is gone. She grabs the knife and holds it just above her husband's head. Every cannibal monster asks her to do it, so that they can eat him after that. She looks at her husband, who is still breathing and is conscious. Her husband also knows what's at stake, so he asks her to do it and makes one last request. She apologizes to him and then stabs him herself. Principal hugs her from behind and welcomes her in his family again. She asks Principal for a favor. The next day, she and her husband are being treated as heroes who risked their lives fighting the monsters who broke in the village last night. The vice principal died in the process while Youngju lost an arm. Because of their holy sacrifice, everyone in the village is safe. On the other hand, as the village head, he was not able to do anything in the incident last night. For that, Principal apologized to everyone and promised to make sure this doesn't happen again. Young-hee couldn't stop her tears at the sight of her father's dead body. All the village members come together to mourn his death. Even the principal and instructor, who were treating her husband like a bug last night, are now offering their condolences with a flower and crying for him. These people are truly deplorable and filthy, but the most disgusting thing of all is she herself, because she is responsible for this whole show and for her husband's death. She pukes because of her disgust towards herself and is moved in the hospital room. Her greed to stay in this village killed her husband, and she can't even kill herself because of the guilt. As Young-hee has been relying on Principal after her father's death, at this rate she is going to have a miserable future ahead of her. Although she wants to kill herself because of her guilt. However, she has work to do. If this continues, Young-hee will live a miserable life worse than her and her husband. And she absolutely can't let that happen, although she can't feel any hunger right now. For her daughter, she has to live, so she forces the food down her throat. She makes up her mind, no matter how much time it takes, she will kill Principal and make sure to give Young-hee a happy and safe life. That's the only way she can ask for forgiveness from her husband. At the hospital, the doctor has done numerous experiments on Chukbuk. In his 28th experiment, he discovered that Chukbuk differs significantly from other monsters. In his previous second experiment, he injected a rat with the blood from her blue finger, and it only took 35 seconds for it to change into a monster. On the contrary, he injected another rat with the blood from another part of her body, but nothing happened to the rat. He also did various other tests, but couldn't figure out the reason behind her mutation. However, he discovered that at the end of the mutated finger, there is a membrane that is stopping the mutation from spreading to other body parts. He still needs to look into it further, but perhaps she has a gene that can stop the infection or is immune to the virus. Chukbuk gets a sneeze and almost gave the doctor heart attack. She sets a new record for a long snot, Even though he tells her to wipe it, she wants to show it to her mom. So he has to forcefully wipe it himself. Chukbuk asks him if she's going to become a monster. The doctor is surprised to hear this from Chukbuk and asks her where she heard this. She tells him that she heard their talk last night. Although he is bad at comforting kids, he still tells her that she will be fine, so she doesn't have to worry about the talk they had last night. He wonders if this will be enough for her to feel good. But Chukbuk tells him that she is not worried at all. If she becomes a monster, then she will be strong like her mother. Then she can protect her family and even bring home food, so that they will never have to be hungry again. If she becomes one, then she wants to be a very big monster. The doctor imagines her as a monster bringing home food, but his imagination is not pleasant to the eyes, and this thought makes him tear up. When Chukbuk asks him if he is crying, he tells her that something went in his eyes. Youngju enters the room and tells the doctor to hurry up since they are ready. She notices his watery eyes and asks him if he was crying, but he was quick to deny it. Chukbuk asks her where they are going and where is her mom and dad. Jungju tells her that they will be back soon and asks her if she wanted to play a game with her. Chukbuk asks her what kind of game, and she tells her that it's a hostage game. Outside, a boy asks Young-hee about the whereabouts of the principal, as he has something to ask him. She tells him that he is in the basement with the newcomers. In the basement, principal and instructor are leading Hee-ra and Gamdol. Principal thanks them for deciding to stay in the village and becoming a part of their family. Gamdol expresses his gratitude for being accepted to stay here. He asks Principal about the basement, and he tells him that they use this as a shelter in a dangerous situation. Principal then mentions about the visit of Young-ju and asks what she said to him. Gamdol says she told them a lot of things. She told them about the good things in the village. She also mentioned that there are only nice people here, and she gave Principal full credit for making the village run smoothly. He learned a lot of things about the village from her. After hearing this hilarious story, Principal bursts into laughter. Instructor says they made up quite a funny story. If they lose their credibility in the first day of joining their family, then he has no choice but to think of a reason to kill them. Principal finally calms down and says, "It's a shame. They were just the kind of people the village desperately needs, but now they've found out that they are not like others." Hee-ra asks him if it's like this, and now that they are no longer a part of their family, now they are free to leave, right? Unfortunately for them, Principal has another way of making them one of his family members, and it's by feeding them to cannibals. He gets ready to snap his fingers, and a long monster with a lot of mouths is ready to attack them from above. At the same time, Young-ju with her partners wearing red cloak is making everyone leave the village by force. After Principal left Hee-ra and Gamdol to the monster, he reveals that he knew everything Young-ju has been doing against him. He was aware when she was recruiting people. He saw how she persuaded Hee-ra and Gamdol in the hospital, and her plan to threaten the other villagers outside at the moment. However, he didn't get rid of her till now because this is an opportunity for him to remove all the people who betrayed him and remove them all together. Some can become cannibals, and others will become their food. The psychopathic Principal is excited to see the look on her face in her final moments. At that time, Hee-ra and Gamdol are fighting the monster, and they are having some difficulty because of the number of tongues this monster uses to attacks. Although they aren't badly hurt because of the weapons Young-ju gave them, for now, they need to retreat. Gamdol tells Hee-ra to step back, but she already rushed forward. The monster attacks her with its tongues, but she cut them all. She throws her scarf at the monster to divert its attention, then throws her coat to block its vision. Even though the monster is quite tall, she still manages to reach it with a single jump and uses her axe to slash at its head. However, a woman comes out from the mouth of the monster. As it turns out, that was not the monster's main body. Hee-ra wastes no time and throws her axe directly at the monster's head, which kills it this time for sure. After some time, their reinforcements arrive at the scene with weapons and assault rifles in hand. They all are surprised at the sight of the dead monster, and they think that Gamdol was the one who killed it, as they witnessed his strength at the Foods Day event. They get overconfident thinking that they have nothing to fear with him on their side. But Hee-ra tells them to not be overconfident or let their guard down, as the main show is yet to begin. At the surface, the doctor is stabbed by one of Young-ju's comrades. Everyone is shocked that they really stabbed someone, and even in front of a child, no less. Chukbuk remembers the time Doctor told her to act scared when he pretended to be sick, and she starts to tremble and act scared. Jung-ju tells them with the example of the stabbed doctor that if they don't want to have more casualties, come with them quietly. A villager curses her for betraying the principal's trust this way, and now she is no longer one of them. Normally these words would hurt her, but she was prepared for this. With a grin on her face, she asks them if they need more time. The people don't want any more casualties, so they drop their weapons and surrender peacefully. Now that they have surrendered, they can minimize the damage, and the weapons can also be useful to them. It was wise to send Hee-ra and Gomdol with the principal. If they hadn't done that, he would have already escaped unscathed, and the people here would have started a riot. However, there is still a slight chance that he predicted everything, so she tells everyone to stay alert. Chukbuk's voice gathers everyone's attention, and then a bullet was fired in the air by Young Hee. She tells her mother to get her hands off of the villagers. Everyone is surprised to see a pistol in her hand, and they wonder where she got it from. The principal told her that her mom would do this to the villagers, and that's why he gave her this. Jung-ju walks forward slowly, knowing that her daughter doesn't have the heart to shoot at a person. She tells her to relax and hear what she has to say. But Young Hee does not want to listen anything she has to say, as she no longer trusts her or even consider her as her mother. Young-ju extends her hand to grab the gun from her hand. Then Jung-hee says to her mom that she should have died that day instead of dad. Hearing this from her daughter, paired with her guilt of that day, she felt great pain from her words. Young-hee threatens to shoot Chukbuk if anyone comes close to her. She shoots some bullets to slow down her pursuers and runs straight towards the basement, to the only family she has left, the principal. Now what will happen to Chukbuk and Young-hee when principal gets his hands on them? Find out in the next part. Until then, click on this video.